Parents and school districts are searching for ways to bring kids back into the classroom. Friendship charter schools in Washington, D.C. are part of a pilot COVID testing program and are able to bring a few hundred students into the classrooms across the United States. Now, one of those schools where testing is taking place is Friendship's Blow Pierce Elementary, and that's exactly where we'll find our very own Edward Lawrence. Edward.
Yeah, Charles, getting kids in-person learning is a very big priority here, and they have done it for the past 6 months or so, since September, 4 days a week, through masks, also testing, as well as washing their hands and 6-foot distancing. Now, each student gets a test every week here at Friendship Blow Pierce Elementary School and Middle School. Now, if there's a positive COVID test, the Friendship Public Charter School System has very specific actions that it takes.
We then shutter the learning pod, so our schools have, a set number of pods, and the individuals in that pod that may have had contact with that student or staff member, they quarantine for a minimum of 10 days. We're then doing a hospital-grade deep cleaning of the space, and then after that quarantine period, those individuals are tested again.
And the charter school system made the decision that it is better, much better for kids to come in-person learning. They get that interaction between each other. Plus, it helps parents that needs their kids in school so they can work. Now, modeling estimates from Mathematica report found weekly testing of students could reduce school infections by 50%. Plus, it helps teach kids about being COVID safe.
We're telling them you don't shake hands anymore wherever you go, in the groceries or outside. Just, keep social distancing, maintain, just keep safe and always sanitize your hands and keep on your mask at all times.
Do you feel like the program is working?
It is working very well.
And over the last 6 weeks, this charter system has done 261 tests. They had 0 positive COVID results. Back to you.
Wow. Edward, thank you very much. Of course, we know the pandemic shutdowns and work from home situation has been a real big negative impact for women in the workforce, in part because they've had to also become teachers as well. Now, there's a whole lot of those numbers of reasons for that, and we're hoping maybe that adjusts itself quickly as we reopen. But there's a study from the Kansas City Fed that points to a much larger issue, and it's for unmarried women, to explain why this is a major problem, perhaps how society could address this situation. I want to bring in from Walser Wealth Management, Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, the federal government, the Federal Reserve, spending a lot of money, right? We're talking billions and billions of dollars. They say they're trying to fix things like income inequality. They're trying to specifically help women. In this case, we see where it's unmarried women who really are the furthest behind. I mean, are you confident that the way to address this is to have the Federal Reserve print more money?
So you're starting me off with a trick question, Charles. No, I don't know. Have we ever seen so many Fed studies so fast about all these income inequality, gender inequality? Listen, absolutely, as a woman, as a career woman, I absolutely want the gender gap of wealth and income both closed. But the question is this an appropriate role for the Federal Reserve? And shouldn't it be more appropriately addressed by Congress and elected representatives? And then should it be addressed by government at all? I mean, if a boy is born, should we just say minus 30% on whatever your future wealth is because you're a boy? I mean, life isn't fair, Charles. And I want to just tell you really fast. I looked at this study, and if you look at it, this is what they have to adjust for: age, children, race, ethnicity, education, income, home ownership, inheritance, employment, and financial risk-taking. Those are all the factors that we have to take into consideration when we start down a road for the government involvement. It's impossible. I'm sorry.
And one thing that I've noticed forever in any of these kind of studies is no matter what race, no matter what gender, when you're married, your chances of success are exponentially better. I don't know, maybe it's an old-fashioned thing, but economically, it really does work.
It's biblical. I mean, that is the design that we all started with, and it's somewhere gone along the way a different route. But you're right, Charles, marriage is the most financial stabilizing factor that anyone can do in the history of their lifetime. So you're 100% right about that.
All right, I want to tap now into your investment prowess there, because I consider you like an investment purist, and so I want your thoughts on a comment made today by Jim Grant. Quote, "To suppose that the value of a common stock is determined by corporations' earnings discounted by the relevant interest rate and adjusted for the marginal tax rate is to forget that people have burned witches, gone to war on a whim, risen to the defense of Joseph Stalin, and believed Orson Welles when he told them over the radio that Martians had landed." So is it time to admit that maybe on a short-term basis, stocks don't always move by the old school formula?
It reminds me of Alan Greenspan's irrational exuberance comment. Jim is right. He's got a point that there are times where we make irrational decisions, and we should look at that. But obviously, Charles, you and I believe that fundamental analysis is the name of the game long term, and long term the market will make efficient decisions. Yeah. But yes, we can have some short term irrational exuberance for sure.
And by the way, I listened to that War of the World thing from Orson Welles, and it was scary as hell if you were back in the day. You would have thought, yeah, the Martians really are coming. All right,
that's when you
Rebecca,
had to paint the picture in your mind, Charles. Before the TV, you had to paint the picture in your mind, and it's more scary.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Meanwhile,
Charles.
folks, college attendance hitting its peak.